2. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another episode of the Teleria Knights. Today we have the usual guests on the channel. We're here to debate some stuff. We're gonna have some conversations, and we're gonna talk about everything going on right throughout the week, and then we're gonna touch on something a little bit special that I want a lot of feedback from the community. So first we have JR Star 3. Jay, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing pretty good. I woke up really early today, had to stream before this, and I just been focusing on the, Emic trunk heart. It's really, that dungeon divers hit me really hard, but I'm ready for the next, events that are coming up in the next few days. Events that are coming up in the next.
Yeah, that dungeon divers was kind of brutal, I'm not gonna lie. We have the one, the only, Nacho. Nacho, how are you doing, sir?
I am doing great. Just been working on a video for the last couple hours and having fun, living the dream.
You want to drop any sneak peeks of what the video is about, or you want to keep it special?
I'm actually doing a roleplay Baldur's Gate series where I'm gonna go through the story with my paladin and narrate all of it and things of that nature, and it's gonna be the full story of my paladin.
Hey,
nice.
Awesome.
Okay. Hey, I just gotta ask real quick: do you eat your nachos with cheese and jalapenos, or just salsa?
Cheese, but no jalapenos. Like, it's too much for me. Whoa, Dewey. Whoa. But you gotta throw all the other fixins on there too. There's more. There's way more in there. Okay, you could throw anything on nachos. Okay, I'm telling you.
Okay.
You gotta get wild with it.
All right, and Gestal Gaming, how are you doing, sir?
Doing great, man. How you doing?
Good. How has your week been? Anything good?
Yeah, week's been great. It's working on 2 accounts, going through the fusion, so I'm trying to stay laser focused on it, man. That free to play, it's tough.
I bet the shards is what's killing me on one of the accounts, but yeah. So we're gonna start off with the question of the week, which is, what is your favorite snack? Now, I already have an idea what Nachos is gonna be, just guessing here. But let's start off with Gestal. Gestal, what is your favorite snack?
Oh, I'm not I think of snack almost like I don't know, something you can throw in your pocket and, if you're out and about and you can eat it. So I don't like chocolate anything. I normally go with peanut butter, so like some sort of peanut butter bar.
Okay.
Like a granola peanut butter bar. There's these wafer ones that's got peanut butter in the middle. It's really good too. So
Okay.
that's what I like, man.
Okay, all right. Jay, what about you?
you guys ever heard of Little Debbie's Swish rolls? Yeah. Those are literally diabetes, like. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Nacho, what about you?
I actually don't snack very much because getting very large is in the genes, So I'm actually just gonna pick a drink here. I love chocolate milk. Every time I can get chocolate milk, we're sipping on that sucker.
Okay, all right. As for myself, I like popcorn, and I don't like the smart food one. I like actually getting the popcorn and making it myself. I like actually making it with olive oil and a little bit of salt. Usually have it every Friday night with my kids when we watch a movie. So, how was your week been? What have you guys been up to? Nacho, we'll start off with you.
Yeah, the first beginning of the week wasn't a whole lot. We're just saving resources for the fusion and then just doing the fusion on time, really, and praying for a couple more shards, but we should be fine.
Okay. Jay, what about you?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I'm almost done working on side things like my own company that I started a business, a cleaning service. So I'm focusing on that, finishing the website, and of course I've been going for this fragments fusion. So it's been intense.
Nice. Gestal, what about yourself?
Yeah, I was gone last weekend with the fam up in Las Vegas, so it was kind of a catch-up week. I got back early Sunday morning. Um, yeah, and obviously running the two accounts on Trunkheart. It's gonna be a big boost to the free-to-play account, so I can't mess this one up.
Nice, nice. Yeah, so myself, I've been working on all three accounts, trying to get both my main alt and my Steven's account, the viewer's account. So I've been trying to get all that done. Actually, funny story. Last night I'm sitting there, I'm trying to get everything ready for, my daily upload video, and my son's like, "Daddy, I want to pull some shards." I'm like, "All right, fine, you know, pull some shards. Which ones do you want to do?" He's like, "The blue ones." I was like, "All right, fine, whatever, that's fine. It's not like I'm, really gonna need them for the champion chase." I walk away. I go to get some water. I come back, and my son's like, "I pulled you 6 epics. They were all epics." I'm like, "6 epics? What did you pull?" He's like, "Well, I actually pulled the gold shards." And I'm like, "Okay, all right. So we just lost 6 sacreds. What are we gonna
Yeah.
do?" I'm like, because I hold on to my sacreds. I don't open them unless it's for the fusions. So I close out of the window. I go into. It says I have a new champion, and I'm like, "Oh, maybe he pulled a legendary or something that I didn't see." He actually pulled one of the epics for the fusion for me. So I
Ooh.
That's
was
huge.
stoked. I was happy. Um, and it's actually going to make things a little bit easier for me, at least on the main account, so I don't have to pull or I don't have to do some of the events. So I'm kind of happy about that. So he
One of my
actually,
viewers pulled 3 of the epics.
oof, that would be great. That would
Oh,
be great.
Damn.
Um, so the first thing we're going to talk about today is we have a new login champion that's going to be coming in the next week and a half. And there's speculation that it's going to be the Monkey King, who is based on Oriental, or I believe it's Chinese uh, folklore or something. I'm not too sure with a lot of that. But we just had Artec. Do you guys think that it's too close to get another legendary for your account? Do we need some time to kind of build up the resources and be able to properly use this champion, or do you just want legendary as is? Let's go see what we can do. I'll throw it to Jay first.
well, a lot of people might not be able to go for Emic Trunkheart. Maybe they want to, but they just don't. They can't because they don't have resources, or they just went for Newt and they're kind of like burnt out. So this might give, like, if this champion's really like, Artec was really strong. We know that it helped out a lot of accounts, especially mid game, early game. But in terms of like investing, like it's okay if you have a champion, you can hold it in the vault, and then whenever you have resources, you can come back to it. It's not like you have to instantly build it right there and then. You can always wait for like champion training or some other place where you can do more, like CVC, right? So overall, I think it's good because it keeps people like, oh, I was gonna leave the game. Wait, they're giving out another free character. I can't leave yet because I need to be logged in. So like, I know some people like come and like have like, especially in my chat, they say little things like, oh, I'm thinking of quitting, or oh, I'm kind of like, this is a lot of work. Like I'm doing fusion after fusion, but honestly, I hope it's gonna bring something unique. Like I'm hoping that it does, like usually when it comes to this type of characters, or like Wukong, right, the Sun, Monkey King, like it's usually about like illusion, right? So there's gonna be perfect veil probably in this game. There's gonna be something, hopefully ignoring defense, because it's A1 usually, or main skill from Wukong. It's like a staff, but it usually does lots. It like bang, it hurts. Yeah, big bang. And then hopefully the other skill might be like some form of because he's a trickster. He's trickster, which means like he creates like an illusion of himself. Kind of like, it reminds me of like Shaco, like another game. So hopefully maybe he can make a copy of himself. So like let's say you have 4 party, but you have this champion. You might not have to build 5 champions. What if you can make an illusion, a copy of your own self? So I don't know how they're going to do it, but that's usually what the character in that type of lore does. So I want to see how they put that into raid.
Okay. Um, that's an interesting take. I do like the whole mirror copy thing. I think that's kind of cool, actually. Nacho, what about yourself?
I don't think it's ever a problem to get a free login. Like the guy takes no resources. You just log in the game and you get him. I don't see how that could ever be a downside. Even if you don't have the resources to build them now, you'll build them eventually. Like even my RTAC, I didn't build until this last PR CVC, and book him didn't do nothing. He just sat there. Once I need him, I'll get him built. It's not a big deal. So giving champions out's great, and they've done an excellent job, honestly, since like UDK. From there on, they've just been out of the park. Awesome. They've helped so many people, and like Jay said, it really keeps people playing the game. The game gets pretty tough through the mid game. As far as like staying with it, like your progression starts to slow, and you don't see as much as you did in the beginning by any means, and so a lot of people start to leave the game. So giving these champions out to especially those players are going to create long-term players, which is something we need. Every game needs.
Right. Okay. Gestal, what about yourself?
Yeah, obviously always excited about new champs coming to the game. It'll be interesting to see what they do with it. The Sun Wukong, to me, I've been playing Smite for a long time, about 10 years now, and they've had Sun Wukong in there for a long time, so that's how I know him. And, as JR said, he's all pretty much built around his staff, does damage, so I'd speculate that, maybe he'll be a damage dealer, but I really like what JR said. That would be awesome if he somehow can, like, clone himself. The ultimate ability in Smite, he basically he goes into, like, the clouds, and he creates, like, another image of himself, and he'll go and battle the closest champion to him. And as he's in the cloud, he heals up, and then he jumps off that and does 2 damage, and there'll be 2 people fighting, basically until there's a timer on it. But so that as soon as you said that, Jay, that's what it made me think of, and so maybe they'll do something like that in the game. I think that would be awesome.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, your Nacho is right. Getting legendary champions in the game is great. Depending on what they do and everything, it'll help progress your account. My worry is just people get it, and sometimes we don't have self-control, and certain urges come in, and we look at it, especially us all being content creators. We have a lot of the resources, whether you're a spender, whether you're a saver, whether like Jay, you're part of the content creator program and you get some of the resources. So we tend to build champions quite a bit faster than everybody else. So my only worry is people see us doing it and they automatically start investing their resources when sometimes their resources can be spent somewhere else in their account to progress it further, with the exception of RTAC. I mean, I thought RTAC was right off the gate somebody that you want to invest, you want to put the books in, you want to get them going. So let's talk about the kit. Let's theorize what the kit's gonna have. First of all, let's talk about, do you think he's going to be defensive, attack, or HP based? Jay, why don't you take this one first?
Honestly, they've given us supports, right? Great Hoof Lariaka. They've given us Newt, which was a defensive. We haven't really attack one other than what? Jetney, which was a fragment summon.
Rhonda.
Oh, well, they did give us Rhonda, yeah. In terms of like free champions, right? So attack. But Rhonda was not only just an attack champion, she actually helped players counter something that you couldn't do if you didn't have Ramontu. Rhonda's the only other champion like you could have. So it was like a free way to have this counter for arena and other things. I think it's gonna be a good opportunity for Plarium to actually open up new doors if they wanted to introduce new buffs, new debuffs. I think he's gonna be attacker. I honestly think he's gonna be attack champion. Because if he was an HP or defense champion, being able to have those type of abilities as well just sounds really strong. At least an attack champion is like, okay, he's squishy, but then he has all these crazy skills, kind of like Valkennen, right? So I think not everyone can get that champion, even though he just released into our game. I think it would be a unique thing for him to be a new nuker, because a lot of people don't have Runda. That was a while ago. So maybe I think they're gonna go with attack based champion.
Okay. Nacho, what about yourself?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with attack based also. I actually think they might do some kind of pretty big ignored defense in his kit. Might power creep George a little bit. Maybe not, obviously not as strong as George, but I think they might start approaching that territory more. Just because they need people to get into live arena more. Right now, live arena is doing pretty bad. So they need to increase participation in that way. And if they don't give us champions, they're not going to be honest. And unless people get champions that make PvP fun, they're not going to go in there anymore. So yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Gestal, what about yourself?
Yeah, I guess I jumped the gun a little bit. I definitely think he'll be attack based, just based on my perception from him. Especially from Smite. Yeah, I like the ignore defense. I think that'd be cool. My guess is it'll be probably some sort of single target with the staff. Maybe on an A1. Then maybe an AoE where he somehow like twists the staff, hitting everybody. I guess I'm basing this off of Smite, but it's just I feel like it. Like I've seen him in other games. He was also in another gacha game I played called AFK Arena.
Oh, that's right.
And he was offensive base. He also kind of multiplied himself there as well.
Yep.
So I think I don't see them deviating from that. And I think attack base probably makes the most sense. And I was just thinking, what about affinity? Maybe force affinity if he's going to be, obviously dealing force damage. But I don't know, he could also do magic, I guess. But what would be really sweet if he's used void.
Yeah.
If he's gonna maybe try to be on par with like the Georgids or the Taurus, even better. I doubt it, but I think he'd have to be a void for that to happen, right?
Yeah. So looking at it from what we've currently gotten for free champions, the last one, Artak, was HP. The one before that, I believe, was UDK. He was defensive. The one before that was Rhonda. She was attack. So I think it is a fair assessment to make that he is going to be attack based. Now, I want to talk about the Stone Skin, and do we think that his kit possibly could counter Stone Skin? Because right now we only have I think it's 2 champions, Alil and Georgia, that counter Stone Skin. So I want some thoughts. Do you think they're going to make it so you can do damage through the shield, or maybe strip the just Stone Skin buff or something? What do you guys think? What would make sense? What could they do with the Stone Skin on this champion, or what would you like them to see, or what would you like to see them do? We'll start this off with Nacho.
So I actually don't think power creeping against Stone Skin is the right move whatsoever. Stone Skin's actually the only reason that majority, and I'm like literally 99% of people, can even make a Ghost second team. Okay? If you take away that tool, we are literally just back to the Arbiter meta. So I really don't think they need to power creep the defensive capabilities of Stone Skin. Right now, you just need to approach them with better methods, like using slower champions and stuff like that to make their slow champions not take as long to wear off their Stone Skin and stuff like that. So I really don't want to see a power creep on Stone Skin, to be honest. It needs to be more effective. I understand a lot of people are having a hard time dealing with teams, but it's also an offensive tool. And I think a lot of the people that are having a problem with it when attacking other teams are also not trying to utilize it themselves to the capability that they could be. So, yeah, Yeah, I'm just like I said, I just don't want to. I don't think it deserves a power creep on that end.
Okay. Have you pushed Plat Arena at all lately, Nacho?
Yeah, and the problem's not Stone Skin.
I mean, let's face
It's
it,
not.
a
No, Stone
well-built
Skin is on
UDK.
teams. Okay, Stone Skin is on teams, very much so, but that does not make it the problem. The amount of damage mitigation alone that Terrace has wins fights. That's what Plat is right now. You run Siffy, double Terrace, and Necrit, or whatever flex UDK.
I,
Like,
I don't think that's it. I mean,
like
I just did a video where I was eating up all of the terrasas with Rotos as long as he's well built. I think UDK.
eating up is very relative. If you're not doing it in less than a minute, you're not eating anybody up.
Well, that's the thing is Stone Skin is making fights 2, 3, and even 4 minutes long. I mean, you need if your
That's
UDK
not what
is
Stone Skin
built.
does.
Oh, it.
I
Have
beat
you?
UDKs at base speed in 35 seconds every single day because I run my team slower. Like I do it all the
You're
time.
gonna run your team slower than a 105 UDK.
No, I didn't say that. I run my team slower in general. I don't need to run a 300 speed team when the enemy is 120 speed. That doesn't help you. That makes you go 3-1 to them and take up more of your time. That's how you
Animation.
counter that. You just need to think more elaborately to fight these things, and a lot of people don't. Is what
Okay.
I'm getting at.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I look at it as perspective of top end arena. You know, when I'm pushing.
Top end arena, it wasn't a problem when Stoneskin was around. Wasn't a problem when George was released. It only became a problem once Terrace was released. Harima was even pretty fine.
Right.
Like Harima was very strong, but people learned how to deal with her in 2 weeks. And then she was just another obstacle in Plat. You know, it wasn't oh my god, it's a Harima, better dodge that. It was literally as soon as Terrace came into the meta, it just completely went downhill, and now it's completely toxic, to be
Okay.
honest.
Okay. Jay, what about you?
I think his A1 should be ignore defense, probably like 50%. His A2 should be an AoE that we don't want to put debuffs because we put debuffs like decreased defense, which makes sense, right? But maybe like weaken so that he's already ignoring defense on the A1. But maybe he should also increase, like he should be kind of like a Hefrak where he boosts himself up, right? Like he gives himself increased attack, increased crit rate, crit damage. Maybe he gives him all three. But I think his most important skill probably is A3. It should be a very strong skill. Like I was telling people, why don't we have executioners in raid? We have block revivers, we have nukers, but we don't have executioners, right? And you might be like, well, there's a blessing for that. I said, okay, cool. But what if you don't want to force yourself to use a blessing like that? What if you want to have it in your kit? So I'll give you an example. What if his A3 is like when you use this skill, instead of when an enemy is killed, get an extra turn or these conditions, what if it says when the enemy that is hit by this ally's skill, if they're at 25% threshold or less, they instantly get reaped, right? So it's kind of like a soul reap, but it's from the champion, not the blessing. So executioners would be a very interesting thing that we don't have in raid as a champion or idea. So I think instead of ignoring Stoneskin and just hurting that whole meta or like other people's builds that they put time and resources into, you could just have another champion that might not be able to go through the Stone Skin, but if there's no Stone Skin, he can definitely kill you in one shot. So that's what I think would be cool.
Okay. I'm just gonna throw it out from Plarium's side here. Your idea just cost them soul stones, so you're fired off the table. Gestal, what about you? You think his kit should counteract Stone Skin?
I mean, in theory, obviously it sounds nice, but the argument from Nacho is strong as well. So yeah, I don't think you can just give that to everybody. I think that might be a bit much, especially as like a login champ, not even like a fusion champ.
Right.
So I don't think they'll do that. But it would be really cool if it's got something unique, like the Valkynin. Like reading the Valkynin kit, at first it's like 2 pages long. I think that's probably the first one ever. I also think there's a scroll in it, maybe on one of the abilities. Uh, it's just so it's like such, and I faced him once in live arena, and he destroyed me. So it was a huge account, but so like if it's something just like an interesting new ability like that, kind of like what JR started saying, or just whatever it ends up being, just something unique, I think that'd be enough. I think just give them, give them a strong tool that can do A really well, whatever that is. Arena would probably be the best, as Nacho stated earlier as well. So as long as he's cool, unique, I'll be happy with it.
Okay. I think I don't think like maybe stripping Stone Skin, like Nacho was saying, is maybe the right idea, but I do think maybe some bonus damage under targets with Stone Skin, um, you know, increase 50% or 30% or something like that. Just because again, I do feel, you know, especially when you're getting those Duchess, they put up the veil and then they're Stone Skin, and you really have to just sit there and wait. Even if you try to run them slower speed, it's still, it's still going to take time. And I think that's probably one of the biggest issues now is, for myself, I haven't been able to push Plat Arena for the last couple of weeks because I literally have to get up like an hour and a half prior to start pushing because the battles aren't like what they were back in the day where it was like, okay, let me just, try to nuke them down, who's got the better or the fastest team, or can you can you take a go second route, right? Now it's okay, who's gonna have the most stone skin and who's gonna do the most damage and most empowerment and blah blah blah. But I like the biggest pain I see is UDK. I don't think Taras is a pain. I think UDK is actually just pure cancer for me. But let's talk about. Go ahead, Nacho.
I'm gonna say UDK is only cancer because you try to run a Rotos into him.
No, I have a double Taras team, but he's still,
Yeah,
kind of a
running
pain.
double Taraz, nuke everybody, and then you gotta wait 25 seconds for UDK to run off his stone skin. Boo hoo.
Let's talk about what we expect his affinity to be, right? The last one we just had was magic. One before that was force. I don't think we've gotten any spirit champions as free logins. I may be mistaken, but spirit champions have not been as a login. So let's, what do you think the affinity will be for this? We'll throw it to Gestal first.
Yeah, I guess and just thinking about it earlier, maybe force, just because with the staff, I feel like you're hitting them with force, I guess. I don't know. Magic could be a possibility, but as you said, we haven't had a spirit one, so I mean, I don't know if the affinities always line up with like the abilities and stuff. I don't know. I don't know if they really pay that close attention to that or not. If they just feel like they need to fill slots in different factions with different affinities to kind of make things a little more even. Um, so maybe there is some very strategic way for them to pick each affinity. So I could be way off, but
They could
I
just
don't know.
decide
You
this one's
guys,
going
do
to
you
be
guys
spirit, this
know?
one's going to be
I would
force.
love to know I would love to know how they choose them.
I think they just have a dartboard on the wall and say, okay, this one's magic. But so what would you like him to be? What affinity would you like him to be?
What would I like him to be? I mean, I'd like him to be void, frankly. I don't think they would do that, but I think if I'm just picturing of what the character would be, I would say force is just what came to my head.
Okay, okay. Nacho, what about you?
Not spirit at this point. They've released so many Force champions into the PvP meta. It's crazy. I mean, you have Python, Ukko, Harima as the main 3 Force champions that are freaking everywhere now. But Force has been getting a lot of love lately. For a while, it was like you had Kandrafon, Mountain King. That was about it. Spirit's always been the weakest PvP. There's almost no nukers in Spirit that are that effective. Like Yannika's good and all against Duchess teams, and now against a lot of these Force teams, right? But she just gets neutered if she doesn't, because Stone Skin, really. She just can't kill anybody with her A1. So she's really waiting a lot of times. Even if you take down their nukers, stuff like that, she's just waiting. So she doesn't really get the job done unless you run a reset, stuff like that. So Spirit nukers in general have just been super weak. I'd rather not him be Spirit. And Magic nukers are getting weaker and weaker and weaker because of all the Force champions that they're introducing that are super meta. Like Ukko and Harima aren't going anywhere, for instance. And if you can't deal with those two, like your viability just goes way down already. So he's got to be either Force or Void at this point to do anything. Spirit would help against those specifically, though. So if he's Spirit and then can also maybe ignore Harima's passive, like, because Quintus is garbage at it. So we could see more of that come into the game. That would be useful. But other than that, I Force or Void. Honestly, it has to be.
But which one would you want it?
I mean, Void. Everyone wants Void over everything. If you there's very few champions where you would say, man, I just love that they are this affinity. Like Duchess, if she was Void, it'd be amazing.
Fair. Jay, what about yourself?
I think it's gonna be Void. I'm sorry, Force. It just makes sense. I would like him to be Spirit, but if he was, he would have to have some cool thing in his kit where it's like if he attacks like a Magic champion, like he has a chance to weak hit, but then he gets like a buff because he's weak hitting. That'd be pretty cool. There's not that many champions that do that. So if they're gonna go on the Spirit side to kind of counter these Force champions, then they need to do something else that makes them unique. Right, like or let's say, for example, as I know it's going back to the skill kit, but like, what if every single time he weak hits, he gets a clone, and then you can't attack him, you have to attack the clone. So like, it makes him viable against even his negative opponents. So he's good against neutral, strong affinity stuff like that, but against negative, at least he has something to protect himself. That'd be pretty cool. But he's most likely, I think he's gonna be Force. But if Playrum's lazy, they'll just make him Magic because they don't care.
Okay. So I'm rooting for Spirit because we have been having a lot of Force, and I'd like to see a little bit of a change, but I think Spirit would be best. Now, let me ask you, do you guys think he's going to be a PvE or PvP content-based champion? We'll start off with Gestal first.
Well, yeah, I would say I would like him to be PvP. What do I think? I thought I heard some meanderings of the people who didn't have Ninja being happy now. And I don't know if they're talking, if that was related to this or, someone else that may have just come out. So, maybe it'll be, more like, his kid or something. I don't know.
Okay. I think the whole Ninja thing was there was a Facebook post that somebody complained about not having Ninja, and they said Ninja can't be obtained anymore, but we do have something else in the pipeline that is similar
That's what
to
it was.
Ninja.
Yeah.
And they've said that quite a bit. I mean, they said that Artec was supposed to be some type of Ninja replacement, and so was Chronum. But let's just face it, Ninja is Ninja, and there's nobody that is like him, unfortunately. So, Nacho, what about you? What do you think?
What was the question again?
Do you think he's going to be PvE or PvP based?
I think he's gonna be PvP, honestly. like just the lore behind the character. If they don't make him PvP based, it's kind of trashy, to be honest. Like they just gave us 2 amazing PvE champions, with the 2 recent fusions. So I want to see PvP. So
Okay. Okay. I'm curious to see anybody that is currently watching us. What do you guys think is going to be PvP or a PvE champion? But Jay, what about yourself?
Yeah, definitely going to be PvP. Like you said earlier, we need stuff for live arena. We need people to help out for tag team arena. I think he needs to be the next champion that people like. UDK helped out a lot of people in their defense and helped people even in PvE. He was good, right? But he's mainly a PvP champion. I hope that he does something unique. Like we were talking about the different skills. I hope he brings something new to the game so people can have different strategies against Stoneskin or their people's high defense or high HP. I think he'd be really cool. Because like everyone said, like Nacho and everybody, like we already have an enemy max HP champion. We're about to get a AOE unkillable buff. Like, do we need more PvE? We need I think we need a new champion who can rock the meta a little bit. That'd be pretty cool.
Okay. I don't know if you guys were just watching, but this guy has, I think it's Frostbite on his Duchess, because he just froze my my Rotos, which is interesting.
just a frostbite.
I
Frostbite can't freeze you unless you try to freeze them.
Oh, okay. Whatever. I mean, it's the first time I've seen a Duchess being built with any debuff based set, but interesting.
I knew somebody that built their Warlord in a frost set at like 370 speed once.
Okay. Okay.
How do you get
How's it-
370 in Frost?
Quads.
Plus 4 empowerment, full faction guardians. You know.
Jesus.
Welcome, Nick. How you doing, my man? So let's see. I think it might be PvE content. Just because we have the Hydra Clash, right? And those little spoofs that they were throwing around was like the next big content. And they were really, really hyping this up, right? So I think because of the Hydra Clash that's going to be coming, I think this might be a great PvE champion. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We do have some time. We've got about another week to sit here and speculate what it's going to be about. But yeah. So if he could bring one debuff, right? What would you want it to be? Jay, we'll start with you first.
I think he needs to bring I think it would be cool if you bring a debuff that anytime a champion, like a new debuff, I think that's what it should be. Anytime like another champion that is the same affinity that, like, let's say he's Force and another Force champion attacks like with him against the same enemy, they like double damage. That'd be pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of like Hex, but like single target.
Okay.
Debuff, I'd like to see block buffs, actually. I think block buffs is super strong in PvE right now for what we would want, Hydra. So, but I also think it's steadily strong in PvP. So, in the first round of a fight, you typically don't have a sheep chance with it. However, if he has maybe extra turns on kills in his kit or something like that, or maybe, gets back to it quick enough, right? You can just block their second round of buffs if they don't have a cleanser and they just don't get anything. And now they have 6 turns of dead. Like they've just got nothing protecting them for that long. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I think like Alil, he's actually in live arena. It's one of the ways that I've lost sneakily. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, oh yeah, I'll just throw Duchess Veil up, protect myself or whatever, and then they just like get everything off anyways. It's a whole thing. But yeah, I think block buffs is one of the buffs that's steadily strong in PvP that could also be good in PvE. Other than that, HP burns. They just buffed HP burns against Stoneskin.
Oh, that's right.
That's something that absolutely nobody is utilizing whatsoever. HP burns with HP activators could be insane. on Stone Skin, and not a single person is trying them. So I think one of those two buffs would be great.
So on that, I did some testing on the whole thing with the stone skin and the HP burn, and the thing that I have an issue with on that one is, yes, HP burn's great. It burns down the shield just like that. You're great. You're golden. But what does the HP burn champion do afterwards? You know, most of them aren't built for damage, and I even tried doing R-Tag with one, like opening up with his A3 and then going into his A2 right away to see, but it really wasn't working. And I think that's the bigger issue with the HP burn for Stone
Well,
Skin.
if this guy can follow up the burns with damage, that would make it a great buff then, or
That
debuff
would,
then.
that would.
So that's the conversation here.
Okay, okay. And Gestal, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, immediately I thought block buffs, mostly because I think we were just talking about him and Hydra, and that's, I think, one of the strongest abilities in Hydra. And as Nacho was saying, it is also a real big pain in the butt in PvP. Sometimes you forget it's thrown on there, and then you hit that veil on Duchess, and nobody's getting buffed. That's a horrible feeling. But I think maybe petrification. Like, I was thinking about what else would be cool, especially PvP. Petrification would be nice.
Okay.
That's like I think I mean, we only got Mithralar, right? I can't even think anyone else who does it.
Camp that does it. Yep.
And that's also got, that means they have to have Hex on. So, you know, maybe he doesn't need Hex, and, you know, can somehow just put on petrification. So just to be different, that was my other thought there, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I really like the petrification one. I think that's really good, especially for progression and like Doom Tower and stuff. I think that's huge, to be honest. So I'm gonna vote for that. I'm gonna vote for that. So yeah, I guess we'll really have to wait and see over the next, you know, week and a half, what we're gonna get and what it's gonna look like. But I'm guessing you're all excited for this, right? Thumbs up. We all want that new champion. So now we've had a pretty big change to the game this week, right? We had the quick battle for Clan Boss. Now, I know we touched on it last week a little bit. Now that it's out, right? I did a poll on my channel. I got roughly about, I think it was like 160 votes. And there seems to be some split of morale, I guess you could call it, where some players are happy, some players are hating it, some players are like, well, dude, I can't even do it. So let me ask you first, are you liking it? Are you happy with it? We'll start off with Jay first.
So I've only got to use it like twice. Because as you saw yesterday or today, I think it was yesterday or today, but it was today actually. I was doing my normal clan boss because I'm just so used to just clicking it, right? If it's not using instant battle. But the two times that I've used it, it's pretty nice. I got some bugs though, where I remember doing it first time it came out, and then like a few days after, it just loads and it just keeps like trying to show it, but it's happening behind the screen. I have to turn off the whole like player room, open it up again, and then it'll save your key. But it didn't instantly go. It was just stood there like a normal run, but it was just showing me like the infinite like spinning, like showing the damage. It wouldn't show anything. I guess that's maybe a bug that they need to fix, because other players have told me that too. But overall, I like it. I think, like I said, like we talked about it before, I think it was a necessary thing we needed for years ago. But it actually pushes, makes players want to hit it. So eventually, after this Fragment Fusion Summit, I need to get myself a 1 key instead of a 2 key. So full auto.
So now you're gonna try to move yourself towards that 1 key finally. It only took you how many years of playing Raid?
Almost 4.
And how long have you been able to achieve that goal of getting a 1 key?
2 years ago.
Okay. So stubbornness. Nacho, what about you?
I've been so excited. I took apart my unkillable clan boss team and freed up all kinds of gear. Fantastic.
Okay. What do you mean by you took apart your unkillable clan boss team and freed up a whole bunch of gear?
Oh, I literally just don't have my unkillable team anymore. I just threw in 5 champions and I 1 key.
Really?
Yeah.
No particular. They just need to be built with like a certain.
I mean,
player
I have a
power?
+4 Valk, a Cardiel, a Krisk, a DPS Mithrala, and a Draco. So they do it, no problem.
Interesting. Okay, so you know what? Once this is done, we're gonna test something out. But Gestal, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. On the main account, obviously, I've been one keying for a long time, so it's a nice time saver. You know, I think for late game accounts, it's just a time suck when you really don't need to sit there and do it. You'd much rather be working on Hydra, would much rather be working on the later game content. So I think it's the logical move. I agree with JR. They probably could have done this a year or two ago, and it would have been fine. But it is strictly an end game thing. In my free to play account, I'm not using it. Obviously, it's not strong enough to do that, and I don't find that as being a big deal personally because one, I need to watch my runs. I need to make sure that they're kind of running smoothly. Make sure I'm hitting my numbers. I don't want to just use an auto key and not be sure I'm going to get my marks each time. So obviously you can't do that, unless you have a 1 key. But like I think that it's a good thing to watch the runs on my free to play. And I'm not doing all those other things. Like I do Hydra, but at a very low capacity. I don't even mess with Iron Twins. I don't even mess with Sand Devils. I don't even mess with Shoguns. So like, that's like a whole bunch of stuff that my main account needs to work on, and my free to play account doesn't even look at. So it's not a big deal because I actually have more time on the free to play account, and it's just running that is what it is.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna test something out real quick, and I feel like we might either be exposing something that player messed up on or what, but we're gonna throw champions that I purely have built for PvE content, and see will they produce a 1 key for us. So we'll throw in my double Taras, Miranex, and I don't know, let's throw in Cardiel. So let's see here. Quick battle. Will they produce a 1 key with no AI setup, no nothing? Is it just going? Nope. Okay. So
That was close.
It was close, but
I mean, just throwing Krisk instead of Marinix and you're good to go.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like Krisk puts defense down out there. That's all you need.
that's true. That's true.
And then the speed aura instead of Tyrus's aura. That's doing nothing.
All right. I'll spend some extra. I'll spend
Yeah, I
some
thought
extra
that was-
gems here.
No,
Although-
put in Chris.
No, I want to see if just the aura alone made a difference.
Okay.
So the last one, look at that. 96 million. Wow. So just the aura alone changed it.
Yeah, you added 20 speed to everybody on your 160 speed Tyruses. Yeah, kind of a big deal. But yeah, so I love this feature for
240
this.
speed
Like, I don't need
Tyruses.
an unkillable team now. I can just throw in champions that I have built into the
That's
clan boss.
interesting.
It's
So
great.
we literally don't even need a speed tune anymore. That is
Nope.
insane.
For certain accounts now, yeah, once you get to that point, you just don't need unkillable anymore. Like, not that you ever like need it, but it's by far the most accessible way to get your first 1 keys, like almost always. So yeah, I love this. I just love it.
I mean, let's just take a quick. So literally, there is no speed tune for this, no nothing. We're just throwing in, and we're literally 1 keying the damage. This is insane. This is insane. We'll be making a lot of videos about this. Just having well-built champions and throwing them in there. I think we're gonna try some stuff out. But that is insane. I did not know that. I thought like you still had to have the team speed tune and it was still gonna have to run everything in it. So it just looks like as long as you just have some overpowered champions, you can go in and pretty much knock it out. I do like the Terrasses basically did the same amount of damage almost.
Yeah.
But that
Freaking million each. Jesus.
yeah, move over, Ninja. But yeah, that is kind of nutty. That is kind of nutty. Now, so going back to the post that I did, we had a lot of people that can't get to that point to be able to do the 1 key damage. Knowing this now, I might just start doing some testing with just some stupidly geared champions to see if this can happen. Because then I feel like this actually might just get nerfed where you have to have at least 1 run done. But do you guys think that Plarium should kind of open this up to players that can't get the 1 key? Because I know, like Gestal was saying, he trying to watch everything and get everything. And I mean, how many keys are you using right now in Nightmare?
On my free to play?
Yes.
No, I'm doing Ultra Nightmare. I 3 key it right now.
3 key it. So quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
So,
Obviously, I would love the quick battle for that, but it's I don't see it as being like something that's causing any sort of problems. I think it's I have the time, like I still don't spend nearly as much time on my free to play account as I do my main account because I just have so much more to do on my main account. My free to play account, that's one of the things that I have to do. And the runs are maybe 10 to 12 minutes at best, 12 minutes. So 3 runs, throughout the day. I don't mind sitting there and watching them to make sure that, like, a crit goes off and someone dies early, or I miss a decreased attack or something. I'm able to kind of manage it and make sure that I do get that 3-1 keys instead of dropping a 20 mil or something, and then I'm like, oh, now I got to make sure I do that 4th key. So I don't mind having to pay attention to it. Obviously, if I could 1 key it, and maybe with Emic, I'll be able to. But that time will come, and I think that's all part of the progression of the game. So it's not killing me, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Nacho, what about you?
What do you get? What's the question again? What are you asking again exactly?
Do you think that Plarium should open this up to players that can only 2 key or 3 key? That they shouldn't just gate it behind the community that is only able to 1 key, especially now knowing what we know, that you could just literally throw random champions into it, no speed tune, no nothing, and you can still 1 key the damage.
No, I don't. I think one of the most important parts of this game, that a lot of people just ignore is actually just watching your runs. If you don't watch your runs, how do you know how to improve it? Like, if you don't want to build an unkillable clan boss, sure, cool, go, don't do it. Like, that's fine. But you need to learn how to improve your run. You need to learn what your fail conditions are. Like Gust was saying, he needs to watch to see if somebody gets crit over and over and over again, and then somebody's dead 10 turns too soon. You know what I mean? Learning these things and learning how to counter tune against them is very important. And if you only make it an auto feature from day 1, you never watch the fight. You only ever see the number. So now you have people wasting resources trying to make adjustments for these teams, and they have no idea what kind of adjustment they actually need to make. That's one of the biggest hurdles with Fire Knight Hard, is that nobody wants to put in the time to test the boss, right? Okay. So if you don't have people in there putting in the time to learn the content, they're not going to improve. And sure, people are going to say, well, you learned it when you cleared Brutal and did Nightmare and things of that nature, but it's not true. When you step up into Ultra Nightmare, he quite literally doubles in stats. You know that? He doubles attack, doubles his defense, you know, it's a whole different beast because of how fast he scales. The gear check is at least 40% more. 30 to 40% more than what you need for Nightmare to then efficiently hit the same damage that you were doing on Nightmare, let alone to then surpass what you were doing on Nightmare. Okay, it is a completely different swing in pace that from normal through Nightmare Clan Boss. Normal through Nightmare Clan Boss, the Clan Boss gets like 10 to 15% stronger, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Like, he doesn't step up that high ever. And so, like, by the time you're at Nightmare, which used to be the top difficulty, right? And people were just clearing that with completely untuned teams using 5-star rare gear. They finally introduced Ultra Nightmare, which is a good step up. So I think it's very important to then relearn how Ultra Nightmare works and how those higher end stats start to interact with each other, right? Your defense cap, your HP and defense ratios, your stun targeting. There's a lot that goes into that content to make teams work effectively that a lot of people just bypass because they have unkillables, etc., right? And so if your unkillable isn't at a 1 key yet, like, boohoo, honestly. Get there. Go farm. Quit spending resources trying to build this champion and this champion. Go farm gear. People split focus themselves so much that they can't actually get to that point that they want to. 1 key, especially if you have a 1 key an unkillable team, 1 keys are not that inaccessible now. Between Brimstone, Cruelty, Phantom Touches, all of these things, budget unkillable can literally 1 key now. So even if you have to manual set up your 1 key on Ultra Nightmare and run a 10-minute key, you know what I mean? At that point, you should also be able to throw in any team untuned on Nightmare and lower and 1 key that. So even if you have a manual setup team for your Ultra Nightmare, I can almost guarantee you could build 5 champions, or at least tune up 5 champions that you have built already to do all of the other difficulties, right? So again, I don't think this should become just instant because I think it hurts the learning curve of the content severely.
Okay. Welcome to the stream, Jeremy. Thank you for joining us. Bob, welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining us. Bob, those builds were real solid. I was speaking with Big Bad afterwards, and he agrees they're way better than what they were. So, Jay, what about you? What do you think? Should they, should they open it up to the rest of the player base? Should they just keep it to where it currently is?
Most people, I would say probably after a certain account level, because the thing is, like Nacho said, like a lot of people just want to pick the best thing. They don't want to play the game. Like some people don't. Some people do. They like to test and come up with different strategies and stuff like that. But some people just want to be where everyone's at. Oh, you're doing, brutal Nightmare Hydra? Well, I want to be there too. Can you get there? They don't want to actually like, okay, well, how do I do this? How do I learn this? They just, can I get there? So that's why, Unkillables became so popular because it helped people who couldn't get to Ultra Nightmare do it. But then it became super complex, right? Some comps like the Sylvan Watcher one, someone's been telling me about the Sylvan Watcher myth, like Elva, not Mithrola, what's her name? The Mytha.
The Elva team with Ruella and Elva.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's like super insanely like tight. Like you can't even miss it by like decimals. So it's like on speed. So it's super hard. He's like, I copied everything. He's like, I don't know why it's working. And I was like, well, that's probably the first reason is you're not watching the fight. Are you checking to see is someone getting stunned when they're not supposed to get stunned? Is the block damage falling off? All this stuff I told them in chat. And they're like, well, I don't know, can you check it for me? So imagine if there was those players who want to instantly just battle. They're just going to be like, oh man, it's only doing 20 million when I normally do 40 or 50. It's going to really mess people's gems and keys, and people need to be at a certain level in the game to get that type of, feature, in my opinion, because you gave it straight early on. I mean, it sounds good for people who are like early, like whales and krakens, they just come in the game, thousands of dollars, cool. Right? But like otherwise for most people, which of course the player base is not there, and we're talking about most like 80 plus, it's a good feature. I just think I'm not saying it needs to be gated, it just needs to be. You should be at a certain count level because at least you've learned enough from Nightmare, and when you get to Ultra Nightmare, you should be like, okay, I've done a lot. Maybe I can try this, and if not, then you have to go back to traditional, right? Traditional buildings. There's 1-to-1s, 2-to-1s. Like we have all this stuff. So if you're beyond that, of course you should deserve the instant because we've already spent years coming up to this point. But if you're not there, you shouldn't just instantly. No one gets a job and you're instantly a manager unless you have those accolades. No one just gets to the end result. You have to work your way to get there. So it's a good teaching, important thing for new players or at least mid-game players.
I mean, again, I've seen the pain of what it was for years, having to sit there and watch the battles. And I will tell you, I mean, I put a picture out last week of how I start my morning every day. I get up at like 6 o'clock. I log on to both my main, my alt, Stevens, and then my other account. And all four of them are going Clan Boss, Ultra Nightmare, and then going into Nightmare. So about the first hour of my day is spent just doing Clan Boss. So I'm a big proponent of opening it up to a wider player base. Now, let me ask you, Jay, you said something where kind of intrigued me. Let's say instead of putting it where they have to one key, what if they gated it behind being a certain level? Right? Plarium likes to release all this content and say, well, you can get to it, but you can't get to it until you're 30, 40, 50. What if they gated this behind a particular level? Do you think that's better than, gating it behind the one key damage? Or, would you think that's fair? We'll start off with Gestal first. We'll throw 75 as the level out to be gated behind. Do you think, that should be sufficient there?
Well, let me see what my level my free to play is. I'm level 78 on my free to play. Again, like I don't, I've gotten some really good champs on this free to play account, but I have not gotten clan boss champs. So it's been obviously a real struggle to get a team to kind of really work on Ultra Nightmare. Nacho helped me out on the first one, and then after we got Nutella, I was able to bump it up a little bit better. But yeah, I don't know if account level's necessarily where it needs to be. I feel like I kind of feel like you got to prove yourself, and this account hasn't been able to prove it yet. So. I don't, level doesn't, where your account level's at doesn't, obviously it portrays how much time you've put into the game at least. But 70, I don't know, 75 doesn't seem, because like on my main account, obviously whaled out early on, and I went from like, because that account was around before when the level cap was 60, and I went from 60 to 100 because I had basically just gotten to 60, and I was like, that's when I really was like starting to get some champs, and I was upgrading a ton of champs. I went from 60 to 100 in like maybe 3 months. Whereas my free to play account, I've just hit 78 here, so I think I feel like you got to prove yourself. I don't think the account level is gonna really. It doesn't. All that's really doing is saying how much either money you've put in or how much time you put in if you've not spent a penny on it. So I think you got to. Now I think a good question kind of would be if it doesn't have to be a one key. Let's say you do 10 runs, it takes that average, and then you don't have to, then that's going to be your average. It doesn't mean you're one keying it, but, maybe, or let's say in a day you have to run it the first time, and then, and that if that's near your average or whatever your average is, then you can just quick battle the next two or something to get to kill the Ultra Nightmare, but or Nightmare, whatever you're on. I don't know, just other thoughts, I guess, around it.
Okay. Okay.
I think there's certainly ways they could make it accessible to earlier accounts that might not necessarily take away from them, uh, learning the core mechanics of the game, as Nacho was saying.
Okay. Nacho, what about you?
No, I don't think so. I think the way that it is right now, it's completely skill based or knowledge based at least. If you can get your team there, you can get your team there. That's all it's gated behind. Um, it's not. People are gonna say a lot of things about it, but that's really what it comes down to. There's a lot of ways to one key. I mean, my buddy Rug's been playing for a year. He uses an untuned team, doesn't use block debuffs, barely use, you know what I mean? Like, doesn't use any of the traditional stuff, so to speak. He uses decrease attack, increase speed for the most part, and those are like the two big things he does. So I think there's a lot to be said for that, and I think limiting people is not something that they try to do. On that end, when they do put level requirements on things, they they're artificially low for a reason, because a player that's ready for sand devil at level 40, like level 40 doesn't take that long to get to, okay?
No,
But
you're right.
and that's why the requirements for that are like so low, honestly, is because when a player's ready for it, like they should be able to do it. So if you have a player that gets super lucky and now they have a 1-key clan boss at level 55 because they pulled a man-eater out of their first void shard, now they're stuck there for another year until they can do 1-key, until they can auto clan boss, strictly time gated. That feels horrible, just absolutely horrible. So
Okay. Jay, what about you?
I was thinking like, because I thought of other things. Like I was like, what if they make it based on like power? But then of course players would just throw random gear on characters just to reach the power.
High
Um,
resistance.
yeah, because players would do that. They would just throw their best gear. It doesn't make sense, not speed tuned, but the champion has over like 80, 90,000 power. It's like, oh, it's reached the power limit. It should be able to 1-key.
Well, Jay,
But
I
of
think you
course,
just proved speed 2 doesn't really matter because I just put in just a regular, PvP
it doesn't
champions
matter, bro. Have you
and
seen my Clanvos team? It has like a 260 like Valkyrie, a 230 Lydia. Like it's all over the place, and I purposely use that 2-key team to show people that I don't need to build a speed tune team or an unkillable team, and that's why I keep using the team I use. But yeah, definitely players would do that, man. They would just do that with the power. So if it's not going to be, if they're not going to make it based on level, player count level, if they're not going to do it based on power, then they just got to give it to the people who deserve it, who can actually get there, right? And which is how it is right now, which I think is perfectly fine. I understand that it's when it comes to like pleasing your audience or the newer community or the newer generation, everything is about getting easier, softer language and all this stuff. It's like, but you don't really get to appreciate something. Like Dark Souls and other games that are hard. When you win, you feel it because of how much time and skill you have to get through it. That's the point of the game, in my opinion. Is rated is learning all. It's depth. It's a lot of depth, right? A lot of abilities, a lot of skills, a lot of tuning, a lot of different things. But when you learn it all, it feels great, and then you can actually play with it. It's like a little sandbox, so you can like play with all these characters and figure out all the different things. But if you just cheese it all the way through, you're just like, all right, cool. And then what happens to those players? They leave because they didn't really enjoy what the main part of the game is about. So we'll see. But the way they have it now is perfectly fine. But let's see what they go with in the future.
yeah, like I said, I feel the bane of sitting behind the screen, and we all know that this game just takes too much time, especially because if you want to move on to the end game and do certain things, you need to prep and you need to do one thing, you need to do sand devils, you need to do this, and you need to do that, and the baby duck does go quack quack quack, not sure, but I just feel like it's just open it up to the community, open it up to everybody. At least let it for players that can 2-key. That's all I'm saying. Or if you can do, let's say, 45 million damage. If your team can do 45 million damage or 40 million damage, that's a 2-key right there. You should open it up. That way it makes it easier for everybody. I think something like that would be great. But all right, so I asked you guys at the beginning of the week to think about some quality of life changes, right? Because we did get this one in that was pretty significant, right? Um, and I want to hear, if you what your communities, what you guys feel should be, some of the biggest quality of life changes that Raid can put in the game for us. And we'll start off with Nacho first.
I'm definitely gonna go with tournament leveling for champion training using multi battles. Champion training is not that bad when you have to level champions from like 1 to max level, but once you have to start swapping them in and out like every 2 or 3 runs, and you gotta like scroll over and click them out, and like that's when it starts to get pretty excessive. And there's just no way in the game to do that at this point. Everybody knows what meta it is, so it'd be nice to be able to set the level at which you want to take the champions to, and then it'll swap them out. So that we can do that, and that would just bring more value to multi battles. So.
Okay. So basically what RSL Helper does, which allows you to kind of bring in which champions you want, level them into a certain type of gear or to a certain type of level, and then swap them back out. Right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Jay, what about you?
The tavern. Now, we've gotten some tavern updates. Don't get me wrong. They've done a really good job. But man, please, can I stop having to eat commons and uncommons? I just want to have a feature where it's like I just click, choose, and it automatically does it for me. Like I don't... Imagine mobile players. Like, I remember this pain hurt me years ago, and it still hurts me to this day. Where I was going for a champion chase, like let's say that's like a Kymar or some sort of like Ray. That's what I went for, was Lissandra and then Ray. But I'm sitting there pulling thousands of misery shards. Then you have to go to the tavern and sit there and eat all the 1-stars commons into other 1-stars to make a 2-star common, and then do the same thing. And it's just nuts. Now we do have more space in the Resolve Vault, Master Vault, which is cool because then you can have more chicks there. Nice. Instead of having it all, we only have just one, like 2 vaults. But it's still like just that kills me because I don't want to sit there click click click. There's no like fun thing. It's not like the special music playing. Like I've done it way too much, and I can feel the pain for mobile players. Like I'm on Player and Play, I can just click with my mouse like quick, but I remember sitting there on the couch. I played 18 hours straight in the tavern. It was insane just to get my first Lissandra. Now it was worth it. Of course, she changed my account because I never pulled one. I pulled one later on, like almost a year and a half later, another Lissandra. But she definitely changed a lot, and it was worth it. The time was worth. But I'm saying, like, now, as a player like me, does it make sense for me to go there? You might be like, okay, early game or mid game or free to play, they have to do it. It's worth. But like for me, it just doesn't make sense. A quality of life would just be nice. Boom, boom, click, instant, all. Like the same we have a filter, we can check all the like all the comments or by faction. Why can't I just check the lowest rarity? Let's be honest. No one's building Ultimate Death Knight. Death Knight. I have one. Someone might troll and build a bully. Cool. Cool story. Or maybe the doggy, right? The Death Hound from Undead if you're trying to do like a video or something. But let's be honest. Who's really building commons? So, like, I have some uncommons. I have some rares. But I'm not really building commons. So, like, I just feel like the tavern should have that, honestly. Just help us save more time. I'd be so happy.
Now, Gestal, what about you?
Well, I was gonna say tavern, but good thing I had two. The other thing I think they need to do, but the tavern is number one in my book. I agree with that. There's no reason that it can't be a quicker way to upgrade everybody. It's tedious, and just the fact that you can only do 6 at a time, like it's insanity. But the other one I was thinking was I need a more robust way to search through gear. I don't like it's pretty limiting. It's gotten better. It's definitely gotten better, but there's no way to be like, all right, don't show me everything that doesn't have speed on it, because like if you're going through speed gear and you're trying to sell this stuff, you might want to block out everything that's got speed, or block out stuff that's already been rolled versus not rolled. Like there's just a lot more that they could add there that could really help you get through gear a lot quicker. So that's certainly a more, and I think RSL Helper is basically what I would want, like the RSL Helper version, or what you can do to kind of to get through gear, get gear, sort gear. I'm not sure if it's RSL Helper, but there's something where you can, maybe it's the optimizer, where you can sort through the gear a lot cleaner.
Yeah, you can do filters with the helper, but you can also oh geez, what was I just gonna say? Oh geez, it left my mind. You can upgrade all your gear. So like all your stuff that's not level 8 or whatever, you can just select it all and it'll take it all to 8 for you.
Yeah, I actually
Oh,
have
that's nice.
Ooh.
I'm gonna do a special request was made to do an in-depth guide on RSL Helper, so I'm gonna do that throughout the week. But I started recording about the first two parts and realized that it was like 20 minutes just for that, so I need to try to break it up into smaller videos because it'll be like a full hour and a half video with so many things that RSL Helper does for you. So we will be doing some of those. But
That
go ahead, Jay.
that'd be a crazy. Think about it. Okay, in raid, you know how you can select all your gear, like the ones you want, and then select all and then sell. What if you could select all and then upgrade? Artifact enhancement is done instantly, right? Instantly. If you have the silver, you level it all to 8, and then you can actually, like, people like, well, guys, I gear cleanse and stuff. It makes it so much easier to go, and you don't have to roll and roll and roll. It's already all rolled, and it helps a lot of players. Dude, I think that'd be insane. I thought Tavern was crazy, but that's huge. That's a huge one too. But of course, you can just use. But not everyone can use RSL Helper. Not everyone's a player user, so.
That's true. I think the sentiment for the community should be Plarium should just either hire on farm stuff with a percentage of whatever he wants for RSL Helper, because it'll just make their game so much better and integrating that in there. I do feel for players like Nick who don't have RSL Helper and can't use it. It hurts. I mean, the more and more I keep working with it and keep doing things with it and learning about it, I'm like, wow, like how is this? How do you play the game without having this tool? But so I'm gonna touch up a little bit on J's. Now I think what we really want is basically give us a little check mark here when we're summoning shards. Feed all comments, feed all uncommons, feed all rares into whatever champion you pick right here until that champion is either level 50 or 60, or you can only use 6 stars. If you only had 6 stars that you could put here, everything I use, everything I pop for, whichever ones check off the box, automatically just feeds it right there, no problem. I will tell you, I had one of my viewers' accounts that I had to open 2,400 mystery shards. I hated it. I was hoping to last minute to get a couple of extra sacreds for this fusion, but that was just a huge pain because I was going in, and me being me, I don't like wasting things. So the first day it was leveling food, pulling shards, leveling food, pulling shards. To the point where we ended up having 233 stars to be able to level for the next champion event. But let's take a quick look here. What are some people saying? A quality of life change that would make gear swapping cheaper. I don't know about making. I think what it should be, I would really like to see a quality of life change integrated into the Hell Hades optimizer, where you build out the build on the optimizer and then it automatically equips it in game. What do you guys think about that, Gestal?
Bring in the optimizer to do it.
Yeah, so basically, you go on the optimizer and then you build everything you want on the champion, and then automatically there's a button you can click that, just like how RSL Helper interacts with leveling your gear and selling it, it basically automatically equips the gear onto that champion. Basically, so you don't have to filter through and try to find all the gear because it is such a mess.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds pretty good. I've actually never used RSL Helper or the optimizer, so I'm not really sure how it all functions.
How do you play this game?
No, I get yelled at all the time for it. Nacho was yelling at me the other day for it.
listen, I want to say it was about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer that I've probably been watching Jay for about 2 years now, right? And I would always brag on him like, dude, optimizer, dude, RSL helper. And he would never be for it. He'd be like, oh, dude, no, I don't want to. I want to do it old school. Now, Jay, tell me, is your life better with the optimizer and RSL helper, or do you still want to prefer to do it the other way?
I still 90% of the time I still use the regular in game, but I only use the optimizer when I'm truly optimizing for like plat arena push, Hydra. Like if I'm progressing Hydra, I want the thickest builds. Otherwise, I just still do it the normal way.
Oh man, you're killing me. You're killing me. But yeah, back to having the optimizer build it and then auto equip it in game. Would you like to see something like that?
That would save a few. Let's be honest, it's gonna save me probably like 2-3 minutes per champion. So if I have 5 champions, you're saving 15 to 20 minutes. Yes, that is a quality of life, but I don't. For someone who's hugely using RSL helper, I can definitely see how it's gonna help you a lot. But when I only use it little bits, it doesn't really change too much for me.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Nacho, what about you? I know you do a lot of builds on champions.
So again, just kind of goes back to the learning curve. If you don't know how to build a champion, how do you know how to gear cleanse? There's a lot that goes into learning gear and actually learning how to maximize what you get. And part of that is stat distribution. Gestal's one of the top players I see that do hand builds. I think he goes through his gear pretty thoroughly as far as that goes. He probably comes within 10% of the optimizer, which, like Jay was saying, is fine enough. Unless you're truly needing to optimize that build to its utmost potential, you can just hand build. It's not a problem. And even when I'm working on like hard Fire Knight and whatnot, I don't want to re-optimize a build every single time I want to drop 10 speed, 15 speed, something like that. A lot of people will do that. However, you could just learn how to swap your banner and your boot and then see if that speed works. And then maybe if you need a little more damage or something like that, like there's a lot more ways to go about it than just like, oh, I need to drop 15 speed, let's re-optimize it. Because what the optimizer is going to do is going to say, we'll take 3 pieces that he's wearing, 2 pieces off this dude, and 1 piece that's sitting there, which is fine. But like, how many times are you going to do that when you're testing something? Then you need to change the speed a bunch of times. Like, just go in there and learn how to change the build. And when you're talking about just straight speed, sure, that's easy. When you're talking about a speed accuracy crit build at 320 speed, now that's a whole lot different. The stat distribution and what you need to have to hit those thresholds is very tight. You need to know where your triple speeds have to be, where your resistance, where your accuracy has to be, how much crit rate you have to have on each piece. Like all of those things start to play into actually hitting high-end builds. And if you don't learn any of that, you have a very hard time with gear. And I think that's one of the biggest problems that the optimizer has introduced into the community, is that people just generally understand gear a lot less. And I don't think everybody is ever going to understand it to the absolute pinnacle min-max period. But you don't need to. You could just have a better foundation than what people have right now and do a whole lot better. Most people right now are just straight up ignore it, let the optimizer do it, and then not understand anything except for looking at pieces as single soul pieces, which is fine and all, but then they lose track of how many attack chests are on their account, how many HP chests are on their account, how many speed boots do they have with crit rate, and and especially when you're talking about these higher builds that you start getting into once you get into late game content, right? Like if you want to build for Shogun and stuff like that, you need to start including HP and defense tuning into your attack-based champions. Like for Fire Knight, I needed to build a 285 speed Cold Heart with 50k HP and 3.2k defense in Stalwart with 160 crit damage and 330 accuracy. You tell me how you build that by hand. I could tell you exactly where you need to get all of those stats, but to tell a new player that they need to learn where to find all of that, it's probably not going to happen. Like, they're going to literally spend 45 minutes trying to do that. And like I was just saying, I think if you introduce the optimizer into the game you make it more difficult for people to understand to finally get to that point. However, you help a lot of people stay in the game because not everybody's gonna get to that point. So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't, honestly.
Okay. So for anybody that doesn't know, actually, there is a mobile version of the optimizer currently in the works. I believe, from what we've been told by Hell Hades himself, it should be out sometime in the next week or two. They're still doing some testing to make sure that it works up to their standards. We all know that Hell Hades isn't gonna. He's gonna test the stuff. The team's gonna test the stuff. They're not gonna release it like Plarium doesn't say, "Hey, here, figure it out. Let us know what the bugs are." You know, which is actually kind of a fresh take because I do. I'm a huge supporter of him coming out with that game. So I know that he's going to do the community justice. But so so we touched the base a little bit on some of the quality of life changes. Now I think the biggest one by far for everybody would be, and I may be wrong in here, but getting rid of the red dots. What do you guys think? Gestal, I'm going to throw this to you first.
Yeah, I mean, I think the red dots in some of the places are actually nice. Obviously, like the market, the Altar of Souls, like, every 12 hours. I don't mind it in like your playtime rewards. But like the one for the champions, just take that off. No one's ever gonna clear that one. That one should not exist. Any red dot for the battle, like Doom Tower, they can get rid of those. For the most part, red dots could go away, and I'd be perfectly fine. I think certain places I don't mind them. I don't mind them. Like I said, I don't mind them in the market. I don't mind them in the Altar of Souls. I don't mind them in like tournaments and events, just to let you know stuff's there. I don't mind. I also don't mind it, I guess, in your like on your quests, the quest button. So places where you kind of really want to know when stuff's being updated. Yeah, frankly, you should be able to go in there and select whatever one you want to have a red dot on or not. How about that?
There you go.
All right.
Remove the rest.
So Plarium, if you're watching, which I have a feeling you may or may not be, actually closer to maybe, just give us an option in here to clear the red dots or put red dots wherever you're gonna put. But I do like what Joe said. Put a somewhere that we can just clear all red dots, right? Because again, I just clicked on this. I mean, I already know what the 10x is going to be. Why is there a red dot still there? I know I have the fragment here. I just checked it. Why do I still have a red dot? I don't know. Nacho, what do you think? Would that be one of the best quality of life changes?
I literally don't give a shit. Y'all just a bunch of whiny bitches.
Man, bro, I log onto accounts. Like I'll log into a brand, like because I do free account. I'll log into someone and there's 20 red dots everywhere. That's not even including the index. And I have a problem with red dots. Like just red in general. It's not my favorite color. I like blue, green, purple, but red it turns me into a bull because I'm just like, oh, what's all this red dot? And I have to click everything, and I'm wasting time clicking and not playing the game. So personally, yeah, it would definitely make a huge quality of life for me.
Yeah, man. I mean, just the sheer just having those red dots everywhere. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but that last week we had the red dot under the events tab. I can't tell you how many times I clicked on that and I was just like, okay, there's nothing there. There's literally nothing there, but it still has me. Like my OCD just kills me having these red dots in. Like this, I'll go in and I'll clear my gear, and then it's like, boom, you farm out one piece of gear and it's there again. So I think we should be able to pick and choose, like Gestal was just saying. Give us a little checkbox of like, hey, we want to see the red dots for the market. We want to see the red dots for, the Guardian Ring, the Altar of Souls, stuff like that. I think that would be great. I don't know I'd like to hear what you guys think, the viewers, about the red dots. what could we suggest to Plarium? Because I do want to do a video of quality of life changes and present it to them and say, listen, this is what we really want in game. Short of just like taking, again, RSL Helper and the Optimizer, just buying them out and putting them in the game, which they probably won't do. But anyways, all right. So we've been on for a while now. I want to ask you guys, what are your plans for this week? What do you got left for the rest of this, or for the upcoming week? Let's go ahead and start off with Nacho.
I am be playing Baldur's Gate 3. That stuff is crack. That world, if you like world building, character building, like immersion, just world immersion, all right? And it's turn-based combat, so like it's immediately going to turn a lot of people off. But like the rest of the game has so much depth, like real D&D does, and there's just so much freedom in the game. I'm going to be spending as much time on that motherfucker as I can. Easily.
Okay. Gestal, what about yourself?
I mean, I still haven't picked up Baldur's Gate, but after hearing that, I might have to. I don't have the time for it, man. Obviously, work, and streaming every day, and trying to get these 2 fusions done. That's mostly what I'm gonna be focusing on.
Okay, Jay, what about you?
Pretty much 3 things, Raid, Baldur's Gate, and this company. That's all I'm doing every single day.
Okay. As for myself, I just want to. I've got a lot of requests for videos coming out. I just need to find the time to do it. So I'm gonna try to get those done sometime this week to get them out for you guys. And I have no idea what Baldur's Gate is. I'm probably gonna go YouTube it and Google it. Actually, I'm gonna go watch some videos on Nacho's channel or Twitch to see what they're about. Maybe if I pick up another game, my wife may or may not divorce me. We'll see. Real quick, we got a question here from Internet Beast. How many points are we expecting for the champion chase? I'll throw this to Gestal first.
I'm terrible with these points. I never know where they land. It's 25 fragments. I honestly have no idea. Anywhere between 1,800 and 3,000? Is that too much, too little? I'm terrible with these point things. I don't know.
How many shards would you suggest somebody saves for this?
That's the hard part, right? Because you don't know what's gonna hit. As many as you possibly can. I have like 120 ancients on my free to play. Plus, hopefully I get a couple sacreds along the way this week. But really what I'm gonna be pulling are fragment champs already got saved.
Exactly.
So I got Mithrala, I got Cleoptrix, I've got I can pull a Razin if I need to, I can pull Arbiter if I need to, so I got plenty, but I believe it's gonna be 2x ancients, so I'm gonna be pulling on my ancients anyway.
Okay. Jay, what about you? What do you think the point spread's gonna be on this?
It's probably gonna be like 25 to like 32, around there. I'm hoping it's not that crazy, because this summer rush is not that bad. I was expecting it to be more points, but like even with what I've saved, I only have so much. There is a second summer rush, so I was like thinking.
We're gonna get into that next.
Okay. But yeah, that's what I think.
Okay, so you think about 2,500?
Yeah.
Nacho?
All right, all I want to know is why you're running a 2.5 minute Magma Dragon team.
I just threw a team in there, dude. It's not even.
Dude, you could just
Get the
throw
Nutel in
Nut.
there.
You could just throw in Nut and double your speed.
Yeah, I
Good
could.
Lord.
I said it, walk away, and forget it. It's not one
Yeah,
of
but
those
this
things.
is why Raid takes you so much time. Raid takes me 45 minutes a day now.
Okay. I want to
Y'all
see that. I
can
want to
go
see a
whine.
45-minute video on your YouTube channel for you to complete everything.
I'll do it at reset tonight. I'll show you
Okay.
real time.
Okay.
Oh,
So, point wise, what do you think it's gonna be?
It's gonna be right at that 3,000 mark. They as far as thresholds go, where the lower one is usually also in the next one for the same fusion. Like they're like right on par with each other. The only time that they start to differ very pretty far from that is when they start including epics in the higher portions. But the lower, or sorry, the first summon rush that we just had actually didn't split the fragments at all. So they just made you do the whole thing. So it was 3,000 instead of you doing. It was actually less than a lot of the previous fusions that we've done. But you didn't have the option to skip it. So that's the thing. So like they're limiting our frames in which you can get extra fragments, right? Because like, I thought they were gonna have extra frags in all the tournaments like they usually do for fragment summons, but
That was
there's
my biggest
nothing.
complaint.
There's nothing. So while the requirement's not that high, I think it's gonna be right at the 3,000 point again. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think 2,500 to 3,000 is going to be about where we are on this. Now, again, remember, if you're saving what you've currently picked up for the fusion, you automatically have 750 in the bag. And I think they're going to take that into account because of the last fusion. A lot of people were pushing that. So this is why you're seeing this inflationary points on this, right? But Jay brought up something, and I'm looking at I'm trying to find the fusion calendar here, but we have a special summon rush coming next week, actually Monday, Tuesday. Now, I already did a video on this calling out what I think is going to happen. And there's probably one of two things. We're either looking at a guaranteed champion, right? Right before a 2x, they're going to try to drain our shards. They're going to try to do something to, obviously boost their sales. Or we'd be looking at a 1+1, basically pull one, get one, right? What do you guys think? What would you think your best guess would be as what you have? We'll start off with Nacho first.
I think we're going to see another Michinaki event. So it's
Okay.
actually going to cost you more resources than a guarantee, but you can split your resources up. I think they had the highest amount of participation with that event as opposed to a lot of the other events. So I think we could, especially with a lot of people skipping this, I think we could absolutely see something similar.
Okay. So you think that we're going to have a Michinaki summon rush where you're looking at the fragments, which actually, yeah, I'm a huge fan of that. So I really hope not, because I don't need arthritis in my fingers. But Gestal, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a Mishinaki. You're thinking like a Mishinaki style event, right? Where you gotta get the
Yes.
fragments
Yeah,
or
yeah, where
whatever.
it's like 10,000 points, you get a champ.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be cool. Yeah, I don't know what kind of spin they could really throw on this. I feel like they'll probably split. Do you think they'll split up the 25 and 25 frags? Do you think it'll be
I think
50 at
so,
like a high
yeah.
point?
Yeah, I think there'll be a high
S-
point and a low point.
I think that would be. I think if you could get 25, that'd be kind of nice too. Um, they could just. I mean, honestly, what I was thinking, they're just gonna come in with like two really good 10x's, like what I would love, like maybe Marichka Taurus, or it is 2x Ancients, so maybe they'll do someone Ancients. Maybe your guys' theories are a little more sound that way. I just want Taurus, man. So I don't know. I guess I'm just hopeful.
You just want every 10x to be a Taurus until you get one.
Yeah, I don't care about anything else at
Yeah.
this point.
Jay, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice but honestly, I think it's just going to be another summon rush that might have like soul stones. They might do a 1+1. That seems likely. I haven't seen one in a while. So they might do that, but I think it's just going to be another in between 10x in between the week.
Jay, you just brought out something. Could it be a soul summon rush? That's
Oh,
possible. That's possible.
I don't. I've been speculating that one too, and
Because they did do one.
Well, I think they gotta give some warning on it. I think you can't just be like
They
summon
firmly
rush.
reasserted
Yeah,
that they are not adding them to Fusion. So
yeah.
if they go back on that, that's kind of bullshit.
And I think the only way they can add something with soul stones is where, like, when you can actually farm these eternal stones. There's no, like, you can't farm them. Like, you can essentially farm Ultra Nightmare to get those gold shards, right?
Yeah.
You can't do that in the game right now. So maybe that's what that Great Void is, or whatever that on the last little marker
Yeah.
on the clan boss area. Maybe that'll open up that,
Right,
and then they
right.
can start doing tournaments like this. But I don't think there's any way they can introduce soul stones into tournaments without having a way to farm the big ones. I'm not talking about the other ones, man. I'm talking about the big boys, because
Okay.
who's really got a couple hundred souls of the small soul stones? Nobody. So
Yeah.
you're normally
Well,
pulling
I
them
mean,
at any
if you call
event
American
or
Express a Visa,
whatever.
you got a couple of hundred. But we
Well,
don't
if you're buying
support.
them, if you're
Yeah,
buying them,
we
yeah,
don't support that. We don't support that.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
no, I
yeah,
don't.
I think it's going to be a guaranteed champion or a 1+1 with ancients just to entice you, because we have a 2x coming up, and then the last one that we had wasn't we had Alsgore Crimson Horn back in like May. That was the last
Right.
one. So I think there's a solid case to be made. But we'll have to wait and see. So all right, so we are at the end of the show. Let's start off with Gestal. Gestal, can you tell everybody when and where they can find you?
I stream every Sunday through Friday, 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time to 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on twitch.tv/Gestal Gaming. I also put out a daily Raid Today show on YouTube. I try to get that out about 12 o'clock Pacific every day. Basically just going over whatever the heck's going on in Raid, any news or any tourneys, events. Obviously, try to keep you up to date on the Fusion stuff. So, yeah, those are two places.
Okay. Congratulations, Bob, on reaching Gold 1 in Live Arena. You are now in for a whole new world, literally.
Yeah, yeah.
Nacho, where can people find you, and when can they find you?
Most mornings on Twitch, Twitch TV or slash NachoPlays 50, and now I'm NachoPlays 50 on YouTube as well. So
Okay. Jay, what about yourself? Where can people find you, and when can they find you?
Basically you could just type in Jarec3 on Google. You'll find me everywhere. But you can basically find me usually around 5 to 6 p.m. Central Time. Sometimes at 7 or 4 o'clock, depending on where you live. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, most people know me by now.
Now, you guys all forgot that they can find you here every Sunday at 3
That's
p.m.
true.
EST, where they can join us and we can have a discussion. Uh, but shout outs. Let's start off with Nacho. Looks like he's ready to go, so we're gonna go with him first.
I'm gonna shout out Kenpachi this week.
Okay.
He does
$14 free to play.
Yeah, his $14 free to play, who's now a content creator as well. But yeah, he's always doing account takeovers. He's always super helpful in the community. He's willing to help anybody. He's always producing videos to help other people on teams that are on other people's accounts. So even if you have a cool team, you think people should see it, he'll make a video for it. And I always reference him in my streams, like especially because of that. Like if anybody has, especially like Spider 10 Hard, once that came out, like all the Akentum teams and all the Renegade teams and whatnot like that. So I didn't need any of them, and I didn't really like build a whole lot of them. So it was nice to have somebody that did do a lot of that work and did a lot more experimenting with it. And so yeah, I'm definitely just shout out Kenpachi this week.
Okay. Gestal, what about you?
I was gonna shout out my man Jalil over there in France. Awesome dude, super smart streamer. He does a lot of account help as well. He speaks English, obviously, because I've spoken with him. but he also speaks French for the European players out there, anyone who speaks French. Super smart guy, awesome dude, and yeah, he's a great watch on Twitch. Jaleel Ashif.
Okay. All right. Jay, what about you?
Well, there's a lot of people I could. For me personally, I would have to give it out to Boozer. I think he worked his, butt off and eventually finally got into the program. And being a free-to-play player and showing the struggles as free-to-play going through live arena, so we don't have to. But yeah, congratulations to him. He did a hard work, a lot of videos to eventually get to where he's at, and at least, let's see what comes in the future.
Free to play, it's not a real struggle for you to play. Come on, it's not like you have to go up against whales. So my shout out this week is actually gonna go to he's known on YouTube as being useless, or I know him on Discord as Blaze It Up. This guy, I mean, anything he finds out, he's always constantly on the game. Showing me support. He's always watching my videos. He's always out there, encouraging me. Just every so often, he'll send me won't be in-game stuff that we're talking about. He'll just be like, hey, look, I saw this and I think it's funny. I think you should watch it. So he's just overall just a great person to have a conversation with. And I really, really enjoy that. I really, really just love the community that is being built here. Everybody that reaches out to me is great. Even just chatting with them every so often, and I do from time to time check in with everybody. Just because. But yeah, so my shout out's gonna go to him. But that is it for the show today, guys. As always, much love, much appreciation. Be safe, be well, be good to each other, and we'll catch you guys next week.